Welcome to the Madroit Podcast. We bring you bite-sized marketing and sales insights to help you level up, no matter the size of your business. Tune in and answer the big question, what does marketing actually do?
Welcome back, everyone. And on today's episode, we are talking about building authority and trust in your marketing and sales. This isn't about sounding smart or looking professional. It's more about showing that you know your stuff and that people can count on you. So when you do that right, you do a few things. You build credibility, reduce resistance to your offer, and drastically shorten the sales cycle. So to kick things off here, let's start with the basics. What is authority? When we say authority in marketing and sales, authority is the perception that you're a trusted expert. It's not just about being smart or experienced. It's more about being seen that way by your audience.
Exactly. It's a difference between saying we do heating and cooling and we're the go-to team families trust to get their heating and cooling fixed and working year-round. Authority is the invisible lever that moves people closer to buying without having to push them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think we'll go into this next part about why authority matters. So for me, why authority matters is people don't buy from the best option. They're going to buy from the most trusted option. And trust is built on authority, right?
Absolutely. Think about it. If you're choosing a dentist and one has a podcast, 100 Google reviews that are all positive, is quoted in a local publication, magazine, website, and the other just has a basic website and a few Google reviews, who are you going to call?
Yeah, that's where when we talked initially in the intro, like authority shortens the sales cycle, right? It qualifies your audience to a certain degree, pre-answers objections, right? It increases your close rate and even lets you have the ability to potentially even charge more.
So let's walk through a buyer journey scenario. Imagine a homeowner is looking for weed control. Weeds are out of control all over their property. First, they Google something like best lawn care near me, right? Jay, what happens next, do you think?
Yeah, instantly you're looking to establish, okay, do these people actually know what they're doing? You're going to see, if you're looking and you're going to see a business that has a bunch of reviews, a Google business profile that has been recently updated, right? When we're talking about photos, right? We're talking about people talking about the service that they experienced with that company. And maybe there's a blog, right, on how to spot a specific type of weed that is running rampant through your property. And another huge authority builder, and we'll dive into this a little bit more, is maybe they're on a podcast. And within that podcast, you're taking in more of their content. Now you're pretty much sold at that point.
Absolutely. I mean, at that point, they land on your website, they see some awards, hopefully that's great, some testimonials, maybe a guide they can read or a video they can watch outlining why certain types of weeds are worse than others, something like that, and establish that expertise, that authority. Suddenly, you're the expert. They're not asking if you're the right choice. They're asking when you can come out to remove these weeds.
Exactly. And I think it's one thing that we talk about a lot with clients is it's not only getting them to your website and taking in that content. Now they're actually doing their research with you, right? So now you're not just the expert. You're not just this authoritative person building trust, but now they actually are trying to learn from you. And that is one of the ultimate ways of building authority. With that, when some of the places that we just mentioned, right, places to build authority, but for me, I'm looking at what are the 5 main places where we can build authority. And we're going to put this in the context of like pillars, right? If it's your website, we're talking case studies, testimonials, some awards that can be displayed, kind of like you mentioned there. But then even with page content on your site where there's real life examples, showcasing your team's credentials, if they have certifications, and then being able to showcase different results that clients have taken on, even an FAQ section, which I think we've talked about this at length as well, where you're answering questions that real customers have. And it can be as simple as we get the same question 10 times anyway, so may as well put it in the FAQ to let people let them do their research, give them the tools to figure it out themselves, right? When we're talking about Google, we've just talked about it a couple times here, but reviews and profile optimizations, keep it current. What are a couple that you're looking for?
Content's huge. It feeds everything. Your website content, your homepage, secondary pages, service pages, about pages, blogs, videos, guides, and that can be used there, but then everywhere else, right?
Yes.
social proof. People trust testimonials. They trust referrals, right? It establishes authority. These people are the go-to. Don't look at anyone else, right? This is the person you need to talk to. Reviews are the same way. That's why Google reviews are so important. Other ways to show social proof are testimonial videos from clients and customers. That's great. Guesting on another person's podcast or doing a local news hit where you're the expert in something. Having your own podcast, like all the content we've already talked about, but that social proof of someone else is establishing, they trust you, right? That is social.
Yeah. And I think another one is sales collateral, right? What are your decks? What are your one pagers? Are they framing you as the expert? Are those leave behinds showcasing your abilities, your credentials, the things that you're doing that make you a trustworthy option for a potential client?
With that, like the leave behinds, but even something showing like you've put more thought into this than just showing up and talking to them that day, right? Because frankly, that's a lot of people's approach in business, and it can work to some degree. But if you want to elevate and level up your business, your organization, like having that stuff builds that authority. So something as simple as a one pager on a PDF, or they show on a tablet, or a leave behind and you show them on paper, it just builds that authority, that credibility. It's really important.
100%.
Yeah. And with all that, like all these pillars, you don't need to dominate everywhere. You don't need to be the number one leader in this very vague and open-ended niche, right? Where you're the number one automotive maker in the world. That's really tough to do.
No doubt.
But if you can narrow that down and you show up where your buyers are looking, your clients, your customers are looking, you surround them, so to speak, and you're showing up in those spaces, it feels like you're everywhere in the world. Like you are the number one automotive company in the world. Really, you're just a small mom and pop custom detailer, but you're surrounding them.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So Jordan, how does someone build authority?
All right. So when we're talking about building authority, what you want to do is make sure that you're finding your area of expertise and you look to prove to your audience, to the people that are interested in looking for your services and your products, that you do this well. And that's done through reviews, testimonials, things that we've talked about. We want to make sure that we're showing it. We want to make sure that we're putting it out there with appropriate visuals, logos, something that's really going to make your brand well represented and match the quality of the work that people are already talking about that you do. When quality matches your appearance in social places, I think that's going to really do a lot for you. But then making sure that we share it. Again, we talked about consistency before, but we want to make sure that we're publishing things regularly. We keep our content consistent so that ultimately we are giving people the opportunity to find us, do research with us, and acknowledge the things that we're doing. So now we've talked about where to build authority. How do we go about building authority?
So from a high level, you want to identify your area of expertise and then prove that you're the expert in it, right? So that can be with testimonials, reviews, content, being on a podcast. You want to showcase that. You want to show that and make sure people have the ability to see that. So that could be visuals for your content, real customer stories, testimonial videos from them, right? So showcasing it, and a lot of other ways to do that too. But then actually sharing that. Does a tree make a sound if it falls in the woods if no one's around? What's the expression? It doesn't matter. Like,
right.
So you have to share it. People actually have to have the opportunity to see that. You have to brag about it. That's very uncommon for a lot of people, but that's marketing, right? So you want to help others brag about it too. So make it easier for people to share the story of you. So from a high level, expertise, prove that you're the expert, show it, and then make sure you share it.
Love that. That makes all the sense in the world. So when does it come into play? What stages?
Why does this all matter?
Exactly. Why does this all matter? Because I think for when we look at it from a sales perspective, authority isn't just for the top of the funnel, right? It plays a role at every single stage of the buyer journey, whether it's awareness and they find you because you're the known expert. They're in the consideration phase, let's say, and they trust you because now they've done their research with you and you've educated them at this point. If it's time to make that final decision, they feel safe, they feel secure because others trust you as well, which again is done through building that credibility through reviews, testimonials, and things like that. So what happens then after they make that decision?
After the sale, it keeps paying off. Clients stick around longer. they're invested. They feel like you're the expert. They're going to give you more leeway to prove that. And they want to prove themselves right. So ultimately, do great work with them and then, or sell them something great that really alleviates the problem. And they refer more to you. It even justifies charging more or having higher rates because they're working with the leader, the authority in that space.
I agree. And I would just say, maybe for the darker portion of this podcast episode, we've talked about the where, the why, the how. What happens when you don't have authority? Yeah, it's something that we do see at times. And I think basically what we talk about with our clients is without authority, you're stuck playing defense. There could be objections to price, which then makes you consider if you're charging enough or if you're not charging enough, even though you feel well that others are charging more than you. It can lead to ghosting and just not getting return phone calls or nobody responding to your emails, or even clients micromanaging your process. And if you've worked in any situation where you're being micromanaged, it's typically not a very enjoyable experience. Gwen, anything to add with that?
Resonates so much, like clients micromanaging. It's not that they typically want to be micromanagers and oversee everything, but they don't have that trust that you're the authority and will help get them through the whole process, right? So that's where that comes into play. And if you have the authority already to start, you alleviate a lot of that. In worst case, like competing on price, race to the bottom, that's for people that don't have authority. Like they just want to be the cheapest. It doesn't matter. People fall to them. Sure, that you can start a business that way, but to sustainably grow long term, not what any of us want running a business. And without that authority, you end up chasing leads and hoping that you get clients and customers.
And I think on the flip side of that is you do have authority. If you're operating from a position of authority, the likelihood for you to do things like convert more leads into customers, but not just customers, satisfied customers, customers that are going to stick with you for longer periods of time, that leads to better clients, right? I think those are the kind that not only you value, but value you as well, right? It feels more of a partnership than just a client and vendor relationship. There's the ghosting ends, right? People want to work with you. And if people want to work with you, the likelihood of them picking up the phone, likelihood of them being responsive with email and different communication platforms increases exponentially. Last thing is your marketing dollars are going to stretch way further because now your funnel is built on belief, not just clicks, not just chasing leads, but there's real substance to it. And you know that the audience that is coming through is a qualified audience and not one that you're going to have to hope and pray and chase to try to get to convert. So with that, for those that have been listening to us, what should they do next?
I would start by asking yourself, where, how, and what authority are you building?
Couldn't agree more. I think what we've established here is that clients, customers are always looking for the option that they can trust the most. And by building that authority, you will inevitably be at the top of those lists.
That's all for this episode of the Madroit Podcast. Please make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions that you want us to talk about on the pod or want to get in touch with us, please visit madroitmarketing.com/podcast. Thanks for listening.